Okay, well, welcome everyone. We're very happy to have all of you here today for our tax webinar to getting ready for the 2024 tax season. So we know that the tax season can be stressful, and you might realize that those tax deductible expenses that you remember to claim, receive a tax refund, or more on the stressful side, realize that the CRA is owed funds for the previous years, and it can be a lot. And having to deal with this contingencies, both on positive and negative sides, can be emotional roller coaster, to say the least. So thankfully, with ClearState, we want to make sure we want to remove any unnecessary complexities when it comes to tax filings for a decedent person. And in today's webinar, we'll break down key steps for filing a loved one tax returns and learning about key aspects of personal and state tax. We'll also go over some practical tips to ensure a smooth and efficient filing process. Should you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the questions box in the platform, and we'll keep tabs of your questions and answer all of them at the end of the presentation. So a little bit about from whom you will be hearing from today. My name is Thais. I'm the Director of Settlement Services here at ClearState. I've been working in client management for over 10 years, and at ClearState, I lead client operations, making sure that state settlement goes smoothly and clients feel supported every step of the way. When it comes to complex state tax situations, I'm the go-to person to help clients navigate the process with confidence. And I'm very happy to be here with you today. And I'm joined by Faith. Faith, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Faith. I am the Senior Tax Lead with ClearState. I've been a tax preparer for, I think it's my 14th tax season now, so over a decade, and specializing in U.S. and Canadian tax for individuals and estates. And my goal is to try to make the tax process as smooth as possible and to help alleviate that stress that comes with tax seasons for you folks, and try to have the most practical approach to make it an easier transition.
Thank you, Faith, and thank you for being here.
Thanks.
So here's a little bit of what we will be covering today. We'll be covering what you need to file, what our tax package includes, tax documents, and our tax checklist. We'll also go over the filing timeline and reserve some time for question and answers at the end. So to start with, what to file. The two most common filings that will need to be completed are the decedent's final income tax return, so the T1 for the last year, and the T3, which is the state income tax return. So for the T1, it's used to report the decedent's income from January 1st until the date of their passing, and it will encompass all sources of income, including employment, investments, and any other earnings that they may have had. And the T3 will be reporting income earned after the date of passing from the estate. And we'll cover that in a little bit more details going forward. But it's important to know that the estate is treated as a separate taxpayer from the decedent, and any dividends that state may earn, and including the CPP death benefit, are reported on a T3. I want to make a note that although we help with both T1 and T3, and we'll go over in detail of what you need to obtain for us to be filing those two returns, I'd like to know that we can only check the decedent account and get information such as tax slips for a T1 purpose. For T3 purposes, we can never check the returns online with the CRA account. So what does our tax package include? So if you have purchased a package with ClearState that has tax included, here is what we will be doing for you. We'll be filing the T1 for the year of death. So we'll make sure that the last T1 return for the deceased person is done in time. We will also be doing the first trust tax filing, so the first T3, which is in the first year of the estate. So as soon as the decedent has passed away, for the first fiscal year for that period, it's also included on your package. And we also prepare the clearance certificate. At the end of the process, once all steps have been completed on the estate settlement journey, there is a step that is required by CRA to request clearance to make sure that the executor has fulfilled all of their obligations with CRA, and we prepare and file that with the CRA. Here are some services that aren't included in the package, but are available as additional services should you or the state need them. So for additional services, we have catch-up tax returns for unfilled tax returns from previous years. For the decedent, if they hadn't been filing taxes, we can do catch-up tax returns. We can also do subsequent T3 filings. So for example, when the estate remains open and earn income on a multiple years, there is an option for us to file the subsequent filings until the estate has not earned any further income. We can also file adjustment returns in the event that a tax filing has been prepared by us, reviewed and signed by you, and then later you discovered new tax slips or new investment accounts that will require an adjustment of the T1 return. We can prepare an adjustment request to the CRA. And we can also prepare CRA review letter responses, because sometimes the CRA will have requests to review items that were claimed on a tax return, such as medical expenses, charitable deductions, and we can assist with a response to the CRA's request. If you think that any of those look like something that you or the state will need, please reach out to your customer success manager on the platform via the chat, and we can get you help to get set up with those additional services. I also want to make a note of an additional service that we do not have, which is we do not prepare corporate tax returns. So for clients that may have had corporate tax needs, we recommend seeking a dedicated corporate tax account. So documents to be on the lookout for. All of these documents here are essential for a complete and accurate tax filing for the estate, and will help you fulfill your responsibilities as an executor and avoid potential tax issues. So when it comes to an employment income, T4, if the decedent was working at the time of their passing, this should be provided by their employer, and you should be looking out for those and uploading into the platform. Also, CPP and old age security slips. If those were the case, you should also be looking for those slips. T3s and T5 slips, in case there were any investments, we would need those slips. Capital gains and losses report slips, so T5008, sorry. If there were investment accounts and they have been reported capital gains or capital losses, we would need those slips for the year of 2024. We will also need potentially summary of our RSP withdrawals for the decedent, summary of our RIF accounts and withdrawals, supporting documentations for any deductions and credits that could be claimed. And we will also need the confirmation for the CPP death benefit, should that have been applied. All of those documents and everything that you need to upload, the tax checklist provided to you in the platform will help you determine what is needed on your case, and we'll go over that in just a little bit. There are also other documents that you will need to be on the lookout for, and those depend on the situation of the decedent and the estate. For example, if there were property rentals, we would require a summary of all income and expenses from the property rental. If the decedent had their own business, we will also need a summary of income and expenses for the business. And in certain situations, we may reach out, even though you upload all the slips for us, we may reach out to require more information. For example, information on the primary residence of the deceased. We will need year of purchase, primary residence versus income earning residence, and etc. And for capital gains and investments, we may ask you to contact the financial institutions to get reports for a specific time period so we can ensure an accurate tax filing. And as I said, here is the tax checklist. So this is a tool that ClearState prepares for you to make sure you have a successful tax return. This was built to confirm all potential risks and pitfalls you would need to prepare when doing estate filings. And the checklist helps you identify which documents you will need to be on the lookout for and upload for us. This document you can find uploaded under your Documents tab in the Tax and Accounting folder. So let's have a look at this. Here is how your tax checklist looks like and the information you will be needed to prepare and fill it out for us. So we will need the state name and marital status of the decedent. We will also need to know if they owned foreign property in the amount of $100,000 Canadian dollars or more. We also need to know if by any chance they were US citizens or green card holders. And then we go into asking questions about the dependents, if there were any, and their details such as sin, date of birth, and relationship. And then we start asking some questions here about the situation of the deceased. Sorry. We ask about the principal resident, if we have some information here, when it was purchased, sale price, any renovations that we could claim as deductions. We ask what are the plans for the estate on the property. Are we selling? Are we distributing to beneficiaries? What is happening? Because that information is also very important. We then ask questions about the secondary residence information. So if there were secondary residences, and what were those, and what are the plans for the estate for that property as well. We also require information on other property, such as rental properties, investment properties, and if they had earned income on any of those properties. This is what we require. We require a summary of the rental income, rental expenses, and depreciation reports. If the deceased had a business, we will need a summary, again, of the business income, expenses, and any reports that we have. We also need to know how that business was held. And here we also have a box for income received after death. there was any sources of income received in the name of the deceased person after death, we require you to indicate to us what was that income. And then any outstanding information that you may be aware of that we're still missing and that you think it's important to mention to us so that we could assess the situation. And then finally, we have a checklist for you to check the boxes of everything that applies. So when you're going through this checklist, you can see each possible slip that you could be looking out on the mail and understand which ones are applicable to your case. So for example, if we know that the deceased was employed, we're going to need a T4. So you know you need to get that. And here's a very, very comprehensive list of everything that could be applicable and everything that you can go through here and check which ones you would need to be providing to us. If there were more than $100,000 of foreign property at any point during the year, during 2024, an Appendix A will be required, and we have that information here on the checklist and what you will need to provide us and what information you're going to have to provide to us so that we can prepare that accordingly. It's all here on the checklist for you so that you can ensure you're providing all the required documents for our tax team. Now, I told you this is going to be on your Documents tab under the Tax and Accounting folder, and I'm telling you that you're going to have to upload your tax documents for us. And you may be asking yourself how you can do this. This is very simple. All you're going to have to do is log into your ClearState platform, navigate to the Documents tab, select the Tax and Accounting folder. This is where you're going to find your tax checklist. And this is also where you can click on the top button, on the plus sign, to add the document. You can select the type of the document that you're uploading, select the document, and click upload. Super simple, and you can easily send to us each document, and you can already classify what the document is for. You can name it, label, and by doing this, our tax team will already have all the documents. Here is our filing timeline for the 2024 tax season. So today you're joining our tax webinar on Feb 1st. So starting later this week or beginning of next week, we will be sending out reps for signature. Many of you that are here today may have already signed one, and if so, we won't be sending a new one, but maybe not everyone has signed, or if the one that you have signed has elapsed, we will be sending a new one for your signature. That allows us also to check the CRA account of the decedent and see if we can find more slips for the tax returns. Around February 14th, some statements and slips start to trickle in. So we recommend for you to be on the lookout for those, and you should be looking out on the decedent mail or email sometimes, or just be aware of what might be coming in. And you can already start to upload those in the platform. By February 28th is our deadline to receive signed authorization reps so that we can ensure we have time to submit those to CRA and access information. By February 28th is also when all the slips should have been issued. So again, you can already be on the lookout for these slips. And if you don't receive all that you think you should have, you can already start reaching out to financial institutions, require bank statements, and any other information that you know it will be applicable for your case based on our tax checklist. March 31st is our deadline to upload all tax slips into the platform. Any tax slips that are uploaded after that date we do not guarantee a timely filing. So we recommend that you upload all the slips as soon as you get them to ensure that you have everything by March 31st so that we can file on time. Our platform will be sending out automated messages to remind you as important dates approach and to make sure you don't forget to send us everything that you should. So don't worry, I have this here, but you will also be getting reminders from the platform. So the key takeaways for today before we go into a question and answer session of our webinar is there are two main tax filings to be aware of. We're going to have to file the T1 for the decedent and the T3 for the estate. Second key takeaway is keep an eye out for statements and tax slips and remember to submit all of them through the Clear Estate platform. Key third takeaway is to stay attentive to important messages from our tax team, as deadlines can be quite strict to ensure timely filing. And the last takeaway for today is when in doubt, reach out to your team of state professionals, reach out to your customer success manager, as they will be able to guide you through clear next steps. And remember that we have a tax checklist to help you in guiding you on all the information that you will need to provide to us. And we have reached the part to answer some questions from you. And we also had allowed for people to submit questions in advance. So Faith, we already have a couple of questions for you. And the first one is, what does an estate with $2 million in investments will pay in tax in 2024?
Okay, so that's actually a common question. My estate is worth, or the estate is worth this amount. How much tax will I pay? It is a specific question. So the best thing that we can do is to have you update the asset section in the platform and upload as many tax slips as possible, and we can try to either do an estimate for you or while we do the tax return, kind of give you a ballpark if possible, or just depending on the timeline with the deadlines, just get it for you before the deadline. Unfortunately, it's not a question I can answer now. I'd have to take a look at the estate specifically in order to be able to provide some further guidance and more information.
Perfect. The second question we received is how to file the rental income.
Oh, okay. So that could be a two-part question. The first one is, say the deceased had a rental property at the time. There is a rental schedule that can be filled out with the final tax return, which we can fill out, or perhaps the property is rented out after the date of passing. What we would need is a summary of income and expenses, and we can report that on the T3, the estate tax return, or the trust tax return, excuse me.
Perfect. We just got a few more questions here. So if the person deceased in 2024 and the principal residence sold in 2025, is the T3 filed for 2024 and 2025, or just 2025? And what's the deadline?
Okay. So if they had a principal residence upon passing, and it was sold after the date of passing in 2025, depending on the dates, it may be reported either on the 2025 T3, which is from the date after the day of passing for a full year. So it just depends on the dates on which T3 it would be reported on. If you're able to actually ask that question to your customer success manager, what I can do is I can take a look at the dates for that particular estate and give you a more solid answer. It'll either be the first T3 or the second T3.
Perfect. Okay, another question that we just got was, how do I get the gain and loss report information?
Yes, that is a question that comes up a lot. So when somebody held investments, we often need a couple specific reports pertaining to those investments and the sale of those investments, either before or after the date of passing. So your best bet is to find out who the financial advisor was and reach out to them directly for those reports. We can help you have the right wording so that you know what reports you're looking for. Now, sometimes people go to the bank and they ask the bank teller. Often bank tellers don't have that information on hand. It would be specifically the financial advisor who'd be able to gather those reports for you. And those are what we'll do is when we're reviewing the estate information, we'll be able to help provide you with some information of what specifically to ask for.
Great. There's another question. Do we separate the rental income into two parts, before passing and after passing, if the rental income lasted the whole year?
Yes, that's a great question. The answer is yes. We would report on the terminal T1 from January 1st to the date of passing, the rental income and expenses for that period. And then on the first T3, we would report the rental income and expenses from the date of passing to the next full year.
Great. Someone is saying, I know I can't find many tax slips. What should I do?
Okay, it can be really tricky trying to find your tax slips. There's a couple. Well, the best thing that we can actually have you do is to sign the authorized representative form that we upload, which will allow Clear Estate to act as your representative with CRA. And what we can look for is tax slips that CRA has on file. It is important to note that what CRA has on file is not all encompassing all the time. Sometimes they don't have all the tax slips on hand that were issued out. So another strategy that is useful is to, what we can do is we can review the asset section that you filled out, and we can say, hey, we think there might be a tax slip for this financial institution or that financial institution. And if we don't see it on CRA, we may be able to look at the statements to see if there's any income earned, and also potentially reach out to those financial institutions, or we'll ask you to reach out to those financial institutions for a tax slip. But CRA is generally pretty good. They usually have most of the tax slips that we need on hand.
Perfect. Another question here is, you mentioned catch-up tax returns. How do I find out if the deceased's taxes are up to date?
Okay. For that, what we can do is once we have Clear Estate authorized as a representative with Canada Revenue Agency through that AuthRep form that we'll be sending out, we can actually check to see what tax returns were and were not filed all the way back to 2012. And what we can do is, if we notice that there were any returns not filed, we'll bring that to your attention, and then you can decide if you'd like to have Clear Estate prepare those returns, or if you're going to look for an alternative. But either way, we'll let you know what we find.
do we pay the tax income from the state bank account? And what happens if there's not enough funds to pay the tax in that account?
For in regards to where the funds come from for paying tax, like that can happen. That where say the estate doesn't have the liquid cash to pay the CRA right away. What we can do is we can provide you with some information to reach out to CRA once we know the tax situation, and just let us know if there are no funds to pay the tax, and we'll provide you with a contact number at CRA where you can discuss a payment plan or some other alternatives. And say there is, I think that would probably be the best, is that CRA does have some options when tax cannot be paid on time.
Great. And what happens if I cannot get you the information by the deadline you showed on the slide?
Okay, well then I just ask that as soon as possible. What we can do is we will, if there's no way that you're able to find the information, maybe we're not able to get authorization with CRA or some other complications, upload what you have, upload what you can, update the asset section as best as possible. And what we can do is we will try to give you a rough estimate of your tax. Also, something to note about that deadline, sometimes T3 tax slips come after March 31st, like they come out April 1st. So just keep an eye for that. We'll keep an eye on CRA's website as well for that. And we will do our very best to get your tax returns done by the deadline.
I think this was all the questions we received so far.
Okay.
I'll give a couple more minutes for someone else to type a final question. And I hope this was very useful. I was so happy to see that many number of questions coming in, and I'm glad we were able to assist. And yeah, I guess from the questions, Faith, the most important thing I get from you is CRA access, so signing the auth reps or authorization representatives forms that we will be sending out. It's super important because then we can help further the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's time to just stay in the lookout and make sure you know what you're expecting, so you can submit things on time.
Mm-hmm. Now, something also to keep in mind with that deadline is if we're preparing a tax return and we notice, there's a little bit of information we think we need you to search for, we're going to include that in our timeline for completing the return on time.
Right. Okay, I don't see any further questions. I guess I'll say, if you do have any other questions, or if you're the person that submitted the question about the income for investments and you want to discuss your situation further, or any other answers that we may have provided and you want to discuss your situation further, reach out to your customer success manager. They will make sure to share your questions with our tax team and provide you with the answers you need so you can be prepared for the tax season. It has found this very useful, as we did. It was lovely talking to everyone today and being here to support the beginning of the tax season. So thank you very much for your attendance. Faith, thank you so much for being here today and answering all the questions as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I guess happy tax season, everyone. We're here to support you. We're here to ensure that the state is treated correctly for tax purposes. So don't worry and ask your questions, or just to make sure that you have everything you need for this tax season. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.